Macedonia, land of rugged mountains and fierce warriors. This is where Alexander was born, a prince destined for greatness. His father, Philip II, was a ruthless king, a conqueror who dreamed of uniting Greece under his banner. Alexander, from a young age, yearned to surpass even his father's legend. History remembers Alexander the Great as a brilliant strategist and an unstoppable force. But before the conquests, before the empires, he was a prince in the shadow of a giant. Every victory of his father, every expansion of Macedonian power, fueled the fires of ambition in Alexander's heart. He would not be simply a king, he would be a god-king. Alexander's education was as extraordinary as his destiny. His tutor was none other than Aristotle, the greatest philosopher of the age. Imagine the young prince, his mind sharp as a blade, absorbing knowledge from a master. Aristotle instilled in him a love for learning, a thirst for knowledge that would shape his reign. From Aristotle, Alexander learned philosophy, logic, and rhetoric. He devoured the works of Homer, dreaming of heroes and epic battles. He trained in warfare, mastering the arts of strategy and combat. All of this under the watchful eyes of his formidable mother, Olympias, who instilled in him a fierce pride and an unyielding belief in his own destiny. A prince, a student, a warrior in the making, Alexander was being molded into a weapon. Philip's reign of conquest was cut short by an assassin's blade. Alexander, just 20 years old, ascended to the throne. Many saw him as untested, a boy king. They would soon learn their mistake. Alexander was no boy. He was a force of nature, ready to unleash his fury upon the world. His first act was to crush any rebellion within Greece. City-states that had chafed under Philip's rule now faced the wrath of his son. Thebes, a city known for its defiance, was made an example. Razed to the ground, its citizens sold into slavery. The message was clear: defy Alexander and face annihilation. The young king was ready to turn his gaze eastward towards the vast and wealthy Persian Empire. The world would tremble before him. The Persian Empire, ruled by the seemingly decadent King Darius III, stretched from the Aegean Sea to the Indus River, a vast, sprawling empire ripe for the taking. Alexander, leading his veteran Macedonian army, crossed the Hellespont into Asia Minor. It was a point of no return. His first clash with the Persians came at the Granicus River. The Persian satraps, confident in their numbers and the strength of their cavalry, awaited Alexander's advance. They underestimated the young king. Alexander, always leading from the front, charged into the thick of the battle. The Macedonian phalanx, a bristling wall of spears, shattered the Persian lines. The Granicus ran red with blood. It was a stunning victory, a sign of things to come. Alexander was on the march, and nothing would stand in his way. Darius, finally taking the Macedonian threat seriously, gathered a massive army to crush Alexander. The two forces met at Issus, a narrow coastal plain. The Persian army, vast but unwieldy, outnumbered the Macedonians. Darius, clad in gold and jewels, watched from his chariot as his immortal guard, the elite of the Persian army, prepared to sweep the Macedonians into the sea. But Alexander was not intimidated. He saw an opportunity in the cramped terrain, a chance to negate the Persian advantage in numbers. He launched a daring attack, personally leading his companion cavalry. The charge smashed through the Persian lines, aiming straight for Darius himself. The Persian king panicked and fled, abandoning his army to its fate. Issus was a rout. Alexander captured Darius's family, a prize more valuable than any treasure. He had proven himself a master of warfare, and the Persian Empire lay open before him. Darius, desperate to stop Alexander's advance, assembled an even larger army, drawing troops from every corner of his empire. The stage was set for the final showdown at Gaugamela, near the ruins of Nineveh. The fate of Persia, perhaps the world, hung in the balance. The Persians, fighting on home ground, were determined to crush the invaders. Their chariots, scythed blades mounted on their wheels, roared towards the Macedonian lines. But Alexander had anticipated this. His disciplined infantry parted, allowing the chariots to pass harmlessly through, their momentum broken. Then, seizing his moment, Alexander unleashed his cavalry. The companion cavalry, led by their king, punched through the Persian lines, aiming for Darius once more. The Persian king, again losing his nerve, fled. Gaugamela was a decisive victory for Alexander. The Persian Empire was his. With Persia conquered, Alexander turned his sights eastward. His ambition knew no bounds. He pursued Darius across the Iranian plateau, only to find him murdered by his own men. The Persian king was dead, his vast empire in the hands of the Macedonian conqueror. Alexander, now king of kings, was just beginning. He marched his weary but victorious army across the Hindu Kush, battling fierce mountain tribes, pushing his men to the limits of endurance. He reached the Indus River, the eastern edge of the known world. He founded cities, planted colonies, spread Greek culture like seeds in the wind. He battled Indian armies, faced war elephants for the first time, and yet he kept pushing, driven by an insatiable thirst for conquest, a desire to see what lay beyond the horizon. He was a conqueror, an explorer, a visionary driven by an inner fire. Alexander wasn't content with just conquest. He envisioned a world united under his rule, a fusion of East and West. He adopted Persian customs, married Persian princesses, and integrated Persian nobles into his army. He encouraged his men to take Persian wives, to embrace the culture of the conquered. He founded cities like Alexandria in Egypt that became centers of learning and trade. He introduced coinage, standardized weights and measures, and fostered trade across his vast empire. He was a unifier, a bridge between cultures. But his vision was not universally shared. His own Macedonian veterans, hardened warriors who had followed him from the dusty plains of Greece to the jungles of India, grew increasingly restless. They longed for home, for the familiar comforts of their homeland. The seeds of discontent, sown in the long marches and bloody battles, finally erupted in open mutiny. At Opis, on the banks of the Tigris River, Alexander's Macedonian veterans refused to go any further. They had had enough of conquest, enough of hardship. They wanted to go home. Alexander, furious and heartbroken, confronted his men. He reminded them of their shared sacrifices, their glories, their bond, forged in blood. He offered them rewards, land, riches beyond their wildest dreams. In the end, a fragile peace was restored. But the mutiny at Opis exposed the cracks in Alexander's empire. It was a stark reminder that even the greatest of conquerors could not rule by force alone. His dream of a unified world, a harmonious blend of East and West, seemed more fragile than ever. Alexander the Great died in Babylon at the age of 32. The cause of his death remains a mystery, shrouded in rumors of poison, disease, and even heartbreak. He left behind an empire unlike any the world had ever seen, stretching from the Mediterranean Sea to the Indus River. His empire was divided amongst his generals, the Diadochi, who would spend the next few decades locked in bitter conflict, tearing apart the empire Alexander had built. But from the ashes of his empire rose something new. The Hellenistic Age, a period of cultural exchange and intellectual ferment, spread Greek culture, ideas, and language across the known world. Alexander's conquests had opened up the East, creating a world where Greek philosophy mingled with Eastern mysticism, where Greek art influenced Persian architecture. Alexander the Great, the boy king from Macedonia, became a legend. His name echoed through the centuries, inspiring awe, admiration, and debate. Was he a visionary, a unifier who dreamed of a world without borders, or was he a ruthless conqueror driven by insatiable ambition? The debate rages on, but one thing is certain. Alexander left an indelible mark on history. He redefined the concept of empire, spread Greek culture to the farthest reaches of the known world, and became a mythical figure, an archetype of the warrior king, the conqueror, the tragic hero. His story continues to fascinate and inspire us, reminding us of the power of ambition, the allure of conquest, and the enduring legacy of one extraordinary man who dared to conquer the world.